नमस्ते, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, राम राम, दुआ सलाम। आप देख रहे हैं टीवी एशिया और मैं हूं आपकी दोस्त और होस्ट जसप्रीत देवरा। लेकर आई हूं आपके लिए एक नया स्पेशल शो। दिस इज फॉर विमेन ऑडियंस। हमारी जितनी भी विमेन ऑडियंस है उन्हें ये बहुत पसंद आने वाला है क्योंकि दिस इज बेस्ड अपॉन विमेन हेल्थ एंड सैनिटेशन। आगे बढ़ने से पहले लेट मी इंट्रोड्यूस द गेस्ट ऑफ आवर डे। हरियाणा रोहतक से बहुत ही ज्यादा माननीय डॉक्टर, हर नेम इज डॉक्टर कांता हरदास जोला। Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, this show will be based on a very मतलब basic questions जो लड़कियां अक्सर डर जाती हैं बात करने से पहले कि मतलब they think कि हमें पूछना चाहिए या नहीं पूछना चाहिए, तो डाउट्स में ऑलमोस्ट उनकी एज निकल जाती है और फिर वो क्वेश्चन नहीं कर पाते और एक कम्युनिकेशन गैप की वजह से उन्हें काफी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस जो है फेस करनी पड़ जाती हैं लाइफ में। सो हम इस शो में ट्राई करेंगे कि उनके क्वेश्चंस कवर हों और उनके आंसर्स जो हैं आपके थ्रू हम उनके पास लेके जाएं। सो माय वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन विल बी वेरी बेसिक एंड दैट वुड बी कि when to start visiting a gynecologist and how often should one visit?
That we start right from when she attains menarche. That is when she starts menstruating. If she doesn't have any elderly at home to guide her or that way, then she must definitely go to learn about the menstrual hygiene, because that can definitely protect her from various vaginal infections and all. Because initial periods, they don't know, they don't ever, they start to ask their parents, even their mothers also, and then they keep using the same pad for long duration, or in case if they have some other problems along with it, they're scared enough to ask, and that can lead to infections. So I would say definitely right from the beginning you should go, and then maybe once in 6 months, or if things are going smooth, no issues. And the second most important thing is when they start their sexual life, because nowadays every other day I have students, I guess unmarried girl definitely, or school going or college going, coming to me with some sort of vaginal infection,
Right.
or an unwanted pregnancy, and this definitely they cannot discuss with their parents, but with their peers, and from there definitely they get all the possible wrong information. So
Right.
I say definitely visit your gynae, get some proper advice, because we don't judge, oh, she's unmarried, oh, she's a school going, because she's a patient and our duty is to give them proper guidance, like how to have a protected sex. And definitely before starting the sexual activity, cervical cancer is, I would say, one of the leading causes of death in females. So definitely it's a very simple vaccination that every girl should go. I would encourage every mother also, once a girl attains 13 years of age, she can get her daughter vaccinated like any other normal vaccination. That's a simple vaccination, just 3 doses required, 0 day, then after 1 month, and after 6 months of the first dose. So that way she can prevent herself from getting cervical cancer, various infections because of those all viruses, and plus, a safe sexual life.
वेरी ट्रू मैम। अक्सर लोगों को इस वैक्सीनेशन के बारे में पता नहीं होता, सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर शेयरिंग दिस इंफॉर्मेशन विद अस। जंपिंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, इफ अ गर्ल इज ऑन पीरियड, कैन शी सी एनी ओबी और गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट और शुड शी वेट?
Why not? Because if she is on periods, she is having heavy bleeding. If she's got very painful periods, yes, she should visit during that time itself, so that they can give the medication, see the results, and definitely advise her other things also. And but if she's coming with some white discharge problem, which she has, but during periods, there's no point with that. That depends on the problem. If she's complaining of some white discharge or something, I cannot examine because she's already menstruating. That will be worse with that. And the rashes and also that for that she needs to wait till the complete the periods. But if heavy bleeding, painful periods, or any swelling, she must definitely visit them and there.
So this fact is being cleared by ma'am. And now, which of these should be preferred more? Like every girl asks this. So tampons or pads, which should be preferred more?
Both are actually good in their own at their own place, and that depends person to person. For example, a tampon has got the advantage it is small in size, You can wear tight clothing if you have to go for a party, wear a tight dress, tight fitting dress. Yes, tampon is definitely good for that. If you're a regular swimmer, yes, you can use tampon and go for swimming also. Its disadvantage, I would say, is the incision part, especially for the initial part, for the first time if you're using. It's quite tactful and a bit difficult, it's a bit painful. And if you're using it properly, you get used to it, then it is okay. You're used to it. If you're a heavy bleeder, yes, you cannot because you need to change it every 2 to 3 hours. And that can be, some kind of discomfort to you. And most important, there's a very rare but life-threatening disease infection that is called as toxic shock syndrome. If you leave it for a longer duration, the bacteria tend to grow up and that can lead to, will shock like problem and that can cause you your life also. And you cannot use it overnight because at the earlier, no, not at all, because you need to change it every 6 to 8 hours. And for heavy bleeders, I would say every 4 hours. And when we come to pads, easily available, easy to use. Yeah, only thing you cannot wear your tight dresses. You cannot go for swimming. And if in case some girls do complain regarding having skin rashes because of the pads, in that case there are nowadays rash-free pads also available, or slightly costly but still okay. So there are pros and cons, and according to your condition, your situation, you can use it. Going for a party, use a tampon. Come back, change it. Going for a swim, use a tampon. Otherwise, pads also good.
So basically, both are good at their ends, but it varies according to the person. Ki what are their needs and demands, and what are their lifestyle and all. So it completely depends upon it. So coming on to the next question, how often one should change a pad in a day? Similarly, what about tampons also?
Tampons. As I've already told you, tampons maximum 6 to 8 hours, and if for a heavy bleeder, every 3 to 4 hours. Similarly, for a pad, every 6 hours you must change your pad, irrespective of heavy bleeder or no. In case of heavy bleeders, they need to change every 4 hours. Depending, because the thing is, blood is a very good culture media for the bacteria and fungus to grow. And vagina, already there are varieties of fungus and bacteria. They're definitely good for us also. But if you tend to keep them for long, they tend to grow and lead to your vaginal infections. So tampons every 6 to 8 hours, pads every 6 hours.
That's pretty cool. Now moving on to our next question. What is PCOD, ma'am? Like people talk about it, ki I am suffering from PCOD and this and that. So what is PCOD and what are its causes?
Okay, to explain you in layman's language, PCOD, it's basically polycystic ovarian disease. It's like you have ovary, in which there are a number of follicles, obviously small sac-like things, in which there are eggs. And once your time comes in mid-cycle, you generally ovulate, and then after 14 days of that, you get your periods. But in PCOD, there are a number of small follicles, number of sacs with having small eggs. So it is like polycystic, multiple small eggs. That itself is polycystic. So your ovary produces multiple small follicles. And in that case, you don't tend to have your regular periods. It presents you in very different different scenarios. Either you don't get your periods regularly, every 2 months, 3 months, or in case if you get your periods also regularly, you tend to bleed very little, hardly as of 1 pad, 2 pads just for a day or two, and you tend to gain weight very easily. More often, if you see a girl was always normal weight, when she starts menstruating, the second she's going on gaining weight. It's time that she realizes, yes, I have some problem and I need to see that. And nowadays, we tend to see in almost 1 in every 4 to 5 days. It's that common nowadays. And that is basically because, and in case of your obese, that tend to increases your chances of PCOD. And if you have PCOD, you tend to become more obese also. That is basically because of, insulin resistance.
Right. Now, what all precautions should be taken in down days to avoid diseases like PCOD?
See, PCOD, I won't say is that this is because of your menstrual thing. Is it genetic, or as I told you, it's because of insulin resistance. Simple language. If you tend to gain weight, or you're obese, you will have a PCOD. There are more chances you'll have PCOD. Your cycles will be irregular, and if you have PCOD, you will gain weight. So for PCOD, it is different. And with PCOD, the prevention part will be to stay fit, to have regular workout. Even if you're on the thinner side and you're diagnosed as PCOD, do regular workout. And if you're overweight, then try and do regular exercise and lose 5 to 7 kgs also. Even 10% of your weight loss will regularize it. And for down days prevention, it will be taking care of menstrual hygiene. As I told you in your previous questions also, change your pads regularly every 6 hours. In case of heavy bleeders, prior to that, use nice cotton panty. Don't wear tight dressings during the menstrual periods. And you can use a good wash at least twice a day. And when you're using public toilet also, see to at least you clean it with water. Basically, because in the case of boy or girls, both are using the same thing. As you know, it's most of the time it is dirty. At least you can spill water over it and use it. And there are nowadays so many sprays or P-Safe coming. Definitely everyone cannot afford it, but those who can definitely use it. So those things, you have to just take care of menstrual hygiene. And most important for the girls, whenever you're using a washroom and cleaning your private parts, clean your private part first and then clean your anal area later on. Don't use that time to clean your private parts because that can cause infection. As we know that anal area is the most infected part. Any type of heredity or hygiene conscious person also. And they're always it's full of bacteria. So always clean your private vulval area first, then clean your anal area later on to avoid infections.
Right. Now moving on to our next question. It would be, is it scientifically true one should not take head bath during initial down days? If yes, then why?
No, it's a myth. And there are many myths regarding menstrual cycles, For example, I'll say you, don't go to the temple, don't come in the kitchen, don't do this, don't do that. That's all because in the ancient days, people were conscious that yes, a girl is menstruating, she needs extra care, she needs extra rest. That is what was like, you just lie down, take rest, don't do this, don't do that, just because so that she's taking good rest, she's taking good diet, she's been taken care of. But nowadays they say, okay, don't come to the kitchen, don't touch, don't do that. No, that is all a myth. And nowadays it's all nuclear families, you cannot afford to do that. And there's no harm. You just have to take care of your menstrual hygiene. You can eat all that you want. You can take bath daily. If you're feeling really, oily, this, that, you can have your hair bath. There's no scientific reason for that.
True, ma'am. Now, if someone has been experiencing the premenstrual syndrome, then how can she tell the difference between what is normal and what is more serious?
Okay. Premenstrual syndrome, we generally say it's a premenstrual syndrome when she's having the symptoms at least 5 days prior to her cycles, and they, go off within 4 days of onset of her menses, and that is at least there for 2 or 3 cycles, consecutive cycles, at least for more than 3 cycles. And they generally are like, she's very irritable. You have a lot of anger within you, unnecessary, crying spills which you cannot explain. You've got bloating, you have got like a lot of craving to have excess of for all these extra things. You feel that you're already bloated up, your body aches, you feel unusually tired. All this is like normal. When do we call it severe? When it affects your daily work routine, your personal relationship, your working relationship. Then it is really severe. When you are just okay with it, yes, you have breast tenderness, heaviness, but you're okay. You can carry on your routine work, you can go to the work. That's all normal. But when it is affecting that, no, I've got so much of irritation. I keep fighting with everyone. People just don't like me those days. I keep on crying every 2 to 3 hours. I keep just eating, that it affects my health. Then I keep on puking.
Right.
And the pain is so bad. And when it affects you so much, that time it is very severe. You need to definitely visit a doctor because it's not something very serious. With certain medications, some relaxation therapy, it can be taken care of.
Right, ma'am, absolutely. What if she misses her period, and what could be the possibilities other than pregnancy if anybody miss her period?
Yeah. Other than pregnancy, there are many reasons for that. If she's missing her periods, either she's, excessively exercising. In that case, she can, because cycles are really very sensitive to all this. Either you tend to bleed heavily or you can miss on them, or she's fallen sick and a major illness that she's become very weak. That case, or she has lost a lot of weight, excessive weight in a small duration of time, or say if she's got any ovarian cyst or any hormonal imbalance in that case also. Then at least I would say, and over a period of a year, a girl misses one cycle, that is perfectly fine. That is physiological. But if you tend to miss more than a cycle, you definitely need to visit a doctor.
If this thing happens, ki once she taken the medicine and all, and she got completely fine and she was working good, then again the same thing attacked her again. So what can be the possibilities that time?
Most common is like I would say PCOD or some ovarian cyst formula or something. So we generally advise them. First, we try to find out what was the cause for it, what was the reason. If we treat the cause, it won't recur again. And it all depends on the complaints. What were the complaints? Why she didn't have in the first place? Because again, if she's having it, she needs to see a doctor and
Right.
rule out. See the cause and cure the cause. Don't have to just, give a tablet to get the periods, but you have to know why she hadn't and then treat it accordingly.
Now, my next question is very general. How to keep the genital area hygiene? Should we prefer products available in market like V-Wash and others? And are they advisable?
Yes. Or as I've already told you, first, most important thing is menstrual hygiene. And unmarried girls, the most important is maintaining your menstrual hygiene. And as I told you, clean your private vulval part first, then your anal area. And whenever you're wearing tight clothing, see to it that once you come, you're more comfortable. Because even that area needs, or ventilations. So, and definitely this wash and all, they definitely help you. So use them at least twice a day. And if you're using it for a longer duration, it's not necessary that every day you need to use it. Use it for a couple of days, then skip and then again use it. And the most important are the causes. If you're having any sexual relationship, use the condom. And see to it that even your partner is cleaning himself, maintaining proper hygiene. I would always say that before having a relation, have good wash, both the male and the female partners. Even the female wash will definitely there is some pH difference in the male and the female wash. There are male wash also available for personal hygiene. So I would always say if not available, at least clean yourself thoroughly. Then I would go for a relationship.
Right.
And after having a relation also, use it thoroughly. And for girls, if you're using, you need to know that whether I should shave my private parts or just use a razor or use all the creams like wheat and all or over waxing. I would say the best thing is just pluck them short or just to cut down, trim them with the scissor. That is the ideal way. And in case if you need to really wear a swimsuit or anything, once in a while you can go for a bikini shave also or bikini wax. And when you're shaving, most of the girls who come to me, they ask that, and they're using dry shave. I would say rather than dry shave, use some medicated soap and make a good lather out of it. And then you can use a good, there are so many razors also available, particularly for girls. And please do change them. That way you can maintain your hygiene. And in case of any discharge, any painful condition, do visit a gynaec. Don't just go over the counter, take the medicines, treat yourself, or be a Google doctor. Do visit a gynaec once.
Right, ma'am. So some girls say they don't like the smell of vagina. Is there anything they can do to fix it?
Yes. Most important, like your physiological secretions, whatever have it, they are odorless. That means they don't have any smell. And in case if you're having any kind of smell, then definitely there is some sort of infection, and then you need to visit a gynae. And all this wash which are available, medicated wash, you can use them. That will also take care of the odor. And if you're sweating a lot, also that also tends to make the secretions smelly. So in that case, a good medicated wash will really help you.
True, ma'am. Now, moving on to our next question. Some say they have a lot of vaginal discharge. Is daily discharge normal?
Daily discharge, yes, when you're very young, we say fertile period is like 15 years to 44 years. But when you're basically 15 to 25 to 30 years, normal physiological secretions, they are there, and that tends to be like most of the girls will say throughout the month I'm having secretions. But you need to know what is normal, what is abnormal. So your normal secretion is not smelly, odorless, it is white, watery, sticky. And that won't cause you any irritation, any itching, or anything. And that is perfectly fine, normal. And most of the days, say 1 week, I mean, with the onset of your menses, and 1 week prior to your onset of your menses, you won't have the secretions. Like 1 week here and there. Otherwise, yes, you can have it, and that is perfectly fine, normal. But whenever it is causing you itchiness, soreness, smell, yes, then it is definitely abnormal and you need to visit.
Okay. So, moving on to our next question. If someone feels some bumps down there, so what is normal and what should be the concern?
Bumps down there is basically your vagina, vulva, they already have small glands. They're like they all secrete some kind of fluid that really helps you keeping your vagina moist. And that is basically when you have a relation also, or when you're sexually aroused, they release those secretions. So that it tends to be a normal thing. And when these glands, their opening gets blocked, and they try to swell up.
Yes.
And most of the time it just tends to release on its own. So those bumps are generally those glands which you feel. And whenever like they're not infected, they tend to just disappear on their own within a month or two, or maybe at times 2 or 3 weeks. But when they tend to be painful, they cause you fever, they cause you some kind of irritation,
Right.
that is they have got infected, and that time you need to visit. Otherwise, small ones here and there once in a while is okay. But if they're there for more than 3 to 4 weeks and causing you pain or fever or any kind of irritation, you need to then see a doctor.
So, moving on to our next question. It says, do safe days exist when women are no likely to conceive? Is there less risk of getting pregnant if a woman has sex a few days after the period or before the period?
Yes, safe days definitely exist. And for that, you need to know how long or short is the cycle. A very simple thing is like, you just keep a watch over 6 to 8 months and see. Make a note of how long is the cycle. It's 21 days for some, it's 28 for some, it's 35 or 40 days for some. So you need to keep a watch and maintain a record how long, what is the duration of your cycle. Then you have to calculate which is the shortest day. For example, you're having a cycle ranging from 26 to 35 days. The shortest cycle was of 26 days. So you need to subtract 18 from that. That will be, say, 8. So 8th day is your first day of your unsafe period. And your longest cycle was of 35 days. So you subtract 11 from that. That is 24th. So from your day 8 to 24th is your unsafe period. So that means there are chances that you can get pregnant. And if you have sex during those days, yes, definitely. And when you're asking me like end of the cycle, in case if you're menstruating for 7 days and your cycle is of only 28 days and you had relation on 7th day, there are still chances because this sperm's life is for 4 to 5 days. And if you ovulated on day 14, you had relation on day 7, then it is okay. But if your cycle is a short window, 26 days, and your second half is a fixed period, then you'll be ovulating on day 12. You had relation on day 7, sperm life is day 5, and on 12th day, that will be the 5th day, you can definitely conceive. So this is the way. Minus 18 from your shortest cycle for the first day of the unsafe periods, and minus 11 from your longest day. So that period is the unsafe period. And I would say when you are having vaginal secretions, the normal one I told you, when you feel the wetness, and when the wetness increases profusely, and when you will see the secretions also, and just hold them in your finger and make a stretch. If this stretching to a longer extent, that means and when we have the secretions, those are your very fertile days. So definitely avoid sex during those days when you're feeling the wetness and during this period. Those who want to conceive, it is good for them.
Right.
They plan it accordingly.
Yes.
Right? So you just have to maintain a record of your longest and the shortest cycle.
Absolutely, ma'am. Now, next question says, how often should she be tested for sexually transmitted infection, STIs? So, which ones?
STIs most common is chlamydia, gonorrhea, vaginal bacteriosis, candidiasis. Most common is candidiasis, and it is basically for that. As I told you, if you maintain good hygiene, and most of the females tend to say that I have infection once the cycles are over. So you maintain your menstrual hygiene, you maintain your sexual hygiene. As I told you, for the male partner and the female partner, there are very less chances of having sexually transmitted infection. The most best way is, that you use a condom.
Right.
Condom is the most effective way to prevent from STIs. And in case you're having abnormal discharges, I've told you so many times, in that case, you must definitely get a guidance regarding how to maintain your hygiene. And then every 6 months. And if you're having STI and you've not got yourself vaccinated, definitely get vaccinated once you're cured of the infection. Get vaccinated for Cervarix. And I would say for sexually active females, there's a PAP test. Pap smear test also is known as. And that test, if you get it done, that will tell you whether you have chances of any cervical cancer also. And if that is normal, you need to get it checked every once in 3 years. And for STIs checkup, once in every 6 months, or if you don't have any kind of problem, there's no need. Once in a year checkup is also okay.
So, what's the best way to get protection from sexually transmitted infection? You have already told that condoms are the best, right? Any other precautions if we can take?
As I told you, pre-relation and the post-relation are good thoroughly wash of your private parts. See to it that none of the partners are having any sexually transmitted infection, or even on the sexually transmitted infection, the female partner needs to know whether she doesn't have any infection because of her menstrual periods. Or if she's not maintaining the menstrual hygiene, she doesn't have any kind of discharge, which she's with. The male partner also doesn't have any infection on his penis, no lesions or no growth or anything. The most important is just to see that they already don't have any kind of infection. They are, and they're clean, and then you can go and you can use condom. These are the precautions.
So for a good communication before and after, as you have already discussed with us, so how can she talk to her partner about STIs?
In case if she's not having any infection prior, and suppose she's just starting, and nowadays even every school syllabus also 10th grade and all, we generally give you knowledge about all that. So she can just be, he or she, anyone can take the initiative, and they can say, see, we know about all this, so let us, take care so that I don't suffer because of you, you don't suffer because of me. And they should be aware about all these things. And you can just, as a friend, because you're going to have a relation, you should have a communication, just not, lusty affair. So you can just talk to them regarding this, that I can get infected because of you can get infected because of me. That can lead to, further problems in future also. So why not take care beforehand itself? And then she can just take all the preventions that I've told you. That's the most simple way. Or she can say, or last time when we had, then I had this and this problems. I had urinary infection. I had this, rashes or bumps down there. And then maybe he can also open up and just say, yes, even I had burning urination and this problem, that problem. So let's take care about it. And let's go for this.
Moving on to my last question, ma'am, any messages, any message for our women audience regarding health and sanitation before leaving?
Yes. That will be just sum up of the today's talk. Maintain your menstrual hygiene. Use tampon or pad, whatever, but maintain your menstrual hygiene. As I told you, changing regularly pads or tampon every 6 hourly. And don't wear very tight clothing. When you're wearing tight clothing, at least come back home, have a good thorough wash, keep yourself clean and dry. And before starting a sexual active sexual life, please get vaccinated. We have, because cervical cancer is one of the leading causes of, death in women, and it is preventable. So please, please, please get yourself vaccinated. And for ladies also, and please get yourself checked up for PAP, get a pap smear done. And for all the adolescent girls, please use a condom, or please use an IPL along with a condom also, to keep yourself safe from unwanted pregnancies. Because an unsafe abortion can cost you your life. And with you, your parents' life is also attached. You don't realize it, but that is there, okay? And trust your doctor. Always just don't Google everything and don't rely on Google. We spend, 15 years of it to get a postgraduate degree, and then we keep on reading and updating ourselves with the recent advances. Google won't tell you everything. Just trust your doctor. And for all the ladies, even the pregnant ladies, get vaccinated for corona. It is safe. That's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us, and it really means a lot for us and the audience who were watching you. And thank you to the audience also जो अभी तक हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए थे. You were watching TV Asia. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.